Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast and a special Bufnagle Classic redrop of the 2020 Christmas special episode. We're dropping this on Christmas Day, a day earlier than our normal Tuesday drop, and we will be on vacation on January 2nd, but we will be back with our regular Buff time and Buff schedule on January 9th, 2024. So Merry Christmas, everyone, and thanks for listening to the Buff.
Welcome on into Bufnagle the podcast. I'm Zach, and today we're doing a special Christmas episode. And as always, I'm joined by Rafe. Rafe, how are we doing on Christmas?
Zach, happy Christmas to all, and to all a good Christmas. I'm doing great. It's Christmas. What can you say? If I'm anything less than wonderful on Christmas, that's an indictment.
Wrong.
It's an indictment of me, right? That's what it is. Yeah, I want to say thank you. Happy Christmas to all our Bufnagle fans out there, everybody listening in the warmth and cheerfulness of your own Christmas glow, wherever you are around the world. Know that we're thinking of you, and we really appreciate your listenership. As usual, you can contact us at bufnagle@bufnagle.com. Zach, today's discussion is Christmas movies.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to discuss Christmas movies, what makes a Christmas movie, why Christmas movies are important to have, and then the kind of the lessons that we get from them and how to apply those into our own lives.
Yeah, so you hear a lot of discussion. Well, it's a Christmas movie, or it's not a Christmas movie, or this is a great one, or this sucks. Okay, so we're going to lay out. So you can't have an argument about these things unless you set the groundwork. Okay,
we need criteria.
We have some criteria. Okay, so the first criterion is that a Christmas movie must happen on or around Christmas time. It's got to have that Christmas. You can't have a Christmas movie in April, right? Those are April movies. Okay, so it's got to happen on or around Christmas time. And then the other thing that's important is the Christmas movie is about conversion and transformation, okay? But it's conversion and transformation of perspective, all right? So someone goes through this conversion, this transformation of perspective, with a change, but they do that change without anything really changing, all right? I mean, it's not like I can't walk and then I have a conversion, now I can walk, okay? That really changes your circumstances, right? So the important thing is that there's a conversion and a change of perspective without a real change in circumstance.
Okay? Your circumstance, if you woke up on Christmas in the movie and you had $10,000, and at the end of the Christmas movie you still had $10,000, your circumstances did not change. It's a similar thing of like you're still living your life as Rafe or as Zach or as Buff the Bufnagle. And then you're doing your thing, but your perspective about how you do that thing has changed in advance.
Right. Now, granted, if the Christmas movie starts and I don't have $10,000, and then I wake up on Christmas morning and I do have $10,000, then that is a change of perspective, right? But if I've always
circumstance,
of circumstance, right? All right. So it's about changing perspective, even though circumstances doesn't change. So in order to get there, we Zach and I think that there are two quintessential Christmas movies. And then we're going to tell you what we think is the third one that produces a lot of argument. Okay. So the first one is, what's the first?
The first one is Christmas Carol, the original Dickens book that has been adapted into a movie. So this might be the quintessential Christmas story, but because it's been made into a movie, it does also represent the quintessential Christmas movie.
Right. So it's a story, and it's been done a lot of times in movie versions. It's been done in plays.
Muppet versions.
The Muppet version is a classic one, and it presents the story of Scrooge, who's a grumpy old Scrooge. Well, he's a Scrooge. He's a grumpy old man, and he is visited at night by the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, and he changes his perspective. All right, and we're going to have some more discussion about exactly how Scrooge is bad and what he does that's bad. Okay, that's the first one. It's Christmas Carol. I think everybody agrees that the Christmas Carol, the Muppet Christmas Carol in particular, is a Christmas movie. All right, and the second one is It's a Wonderful Life, which is a 1946 movie. George Bailey is a man living in a small town. He dreams of going out and doing all great worldly things.
And seeing the world.
Oh, I'm going to shake the dust of this town off my feet. I'm going to see the world. I'm going to build bridges, skyscrapers, 1,000 stories. He's going to do all the stuff. He's going to do this great outside worldly stuff. And he ends up spending his life stuck in this little town. He can never get out. And he is visited by an angel who saves his life. and
changes his perspective.
Shows him what the world will be like without him. All right, so those are the two quintessential ones. All right, and then Zach, your nominee for the third one is
Die Hard, which is usually the quintessential Christmas movie debate movie. But Die Hard matches all of our criteria, and it tells that story all around Christmas time.
All right, so Die Hard takes place. The movie came out about 88, I think.
88.
Yeah, all right. And John McClane's played by Bruce Willis. He's this tough guy, New York cop, right? And he is estranged from his wife.
Yep.
All right, and she works in this.
She works on the other side of the country. She works in L.A.
Yeah.
And he's going to visit her because he wants to reconcile that relationship, and he wants to better himself through that relationship. So he travels to L.A. He hangs out he's changing in the parking lot, and then the Christmas party is taken over by terrorists, and it's John McClane's job. Well, he takes the job upon himself to rescue the partygoers and save Christmas
and stop the bad guys. And the perspective change does not take place in John McClane, but it takes place in his estranged wife.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of the movie, she has written him off.
She ignores the fact that he's coming to this Christmas party to see her. She doesn't want him to be involved.
Right. And she even has gone back to using her maiden name, if I remember right. And then at the end of the movie, she refers to John McClane as my husband. Right.
Yep.
So she has this change of perspective about who he is, right?
What he does, and the good that he brings into the world, even though he's Bruce Willis, big tough guy from New York City.
Yippee-ki-yay, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you've seen the movie, there's a couple classic lines from that, and I'm sure a lot of people have arguments about whether or not Christmas movie categories should include Die Hard. Zach is of the belief that it should include Die Hard. There's a couple other that we're going to talk about here, and then we're going to have some special big brain, smart head guest commentators that are going to give us some
Christmas experts.
Christmas, yeah, they are really Christmas experts.
Yeah.
Is big brain, smart head Christmas experts
of the year.
Christmas
comes once a year.
.com, right? It's
Bufnagle.
At Bufnagle. And did you know we're on Twitter? All right, so a couple that come to mind when you start thinking about those criteria. One of them is planes, trains, and automobiles. Steve Martin and John Candy are stuck trying to get their way back to Chicago, and they're stuck in a plane, on a train, an automobile. All sorts of wacky things happen because it's Steve Martin and John Candy. And Steve Martin goes through a real change in that movie when he understands the plight. John Candy is you find out in the movie, he's on really hard times. His whole life is in a box that he drags along with him. But he is upbeat and he's happy and he's
wholesome.
He is wholesome. He's the Midwest, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Steve Martin is an executive and he's stuck trying to get home and he can't stand the fact John Candy is all upbeat and happy.
And he's upset at the fact and the whole time Steve Martin, he's always aggressive and just like tight and just he's not letting loose and having fun. He's not lighting up a little bit, Fraser.
That's right. So he's having a hard time with it, and he has this transformation. And at the end, everything is happy. Another one is Zach.
Iron Man 3 would also be on that list for me. So it's kind of Tony Stark's redemption story.
Tony Stark. Okay,
he has an arc reactor, but yeah, Tony Stark's redemption story. My roommate is also in the belief that Iron Man 3 is a Christmas movie, so we won't fight anyone that says otherwise.
All right.
But Iron Man 3 is Tony's redemption story. It's who is he without the suits?
Okay.
Who is he in the world? Like, what does he bring? And he realizes that he's not just Iron Man. He's this person. He can do great things
without the suit,
without technology, without the suit. He's
a
brilliant man. He relies on his humanity more.
All right, so Tony Stark is in the comic books. He's an inventor guy, and he invents all this stuff. And one of these things is essentially it's a magic suit made of iron, and it helps him fly, and it keeps his heart beating, and it
helps him defeat the bad guys.
And he saves the day.
And save the world.
Okay, that's that one, and that's Iron Man 3. But you have another superhero one
that similar, but it's a little different. Is Shazam, which came out in 2019 before the pandemic. It feels like about 7 years ago, but it's the Billy Batson origin story becoming the superhero Shazam. I don't need to go into the depths of who Shazam is as a hero, but when Billy says the word Shazam, a bolt of lightning comes out of the sky and changes him into a man that's capable of.
He's like Superman.
Yeah, he's pretty much Superman, and there's an argument to make that he's even stronger. But we won't go into that today. But Billy realizes, as Shazam, that there's a group of people that rely on him, and his whole life he's been ignoring them, and he's been pushing them back.
Neglecting them?
Neglecting them.
Okay.
And they keep trying to be like, Billy, we got your back. And he's like, nah. Billy, we got your back. He's like, no. And eventually they're like, Billy, we need you. And he's like, okay. And he kind of gives in. He's like, I can do more. And unfortunately, this can be gray area with our criteria because Billy Batson becomes a hero over the course of his journey and realizing that he can help people. But he does things as Billy and as Shazam to help people. So there's some gray area there, but it is a great story of looking at that change and what we can do and the positive good we can do even if we aren't superheroes.
All right, so those are 6 movies right there.
Yep.
And we could have we could have a podcast on each one of these movies, but I don't think we will. All right, but what I'd like to do is I would like to welcome our big brain, smart head, Christmas expert guest commentators.com, or whatever they are.
By Bufnagle.
Okay. They are Zachary, your little sister,
Yes.
Olivia DeCleene, and her wonderful husband, Chris, all the way here from warm and cheerful Speedway, Indiana.
Which is home of the other studio you record out after at
That's
times.
right. That's right. We've recorded the podcast in their little home studio on a number of occasions. They live in the shadow of the racetrack there in Speedway, Indiana. So it's a wonderful little town, they say. Chris and Olivia, welcome. And how are you guys today?
We are great. Very happy to be here on Christmas. I want to say I'm very grateful for this opportunity to make my podcast debut here on Bufnagle Podcast, and to say, as they say here in the South, Merry Christmas to y'all, and to y'all a good night.
Yeah, we're doing great. You can't be unhappy on Christmas, and this is my podcast debut as well.
All right, that's exciting. Well, thank you for debuting yourselves here today. So, Christmas movies. Now, we set out a definition, and we laid it out in pretty general terms. And you guys agree, disagree, want to adjust it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I think about is, well, why do we call these then Christmas movies instead of perspective movies? And I think that's important because the occasion and the potential for these amazing radical changes of perspective that these people undergo that bring them meaning and fulfillment in life happens on the occasion of Christmas, on the occasion of Christ's birth. And that change in the world, which is actually more of offers a more interior change, can bring them that powerful change in perspective.
Yeah, that is the ultimate perspective changer, right? I mean, it's hard for us to view now post hoc what a change that must have been pre hoc, right? So, you're going through life thinking, here I am, I'm living in Roman rule or whatever sucky empire's beating you down. Before that, you got nothing to live for. And the Christian perspective coming along with the first Christmas, the best one ever, right? That's a game changer. And that is a real change of perspective without really changing any of your, the world's still the world. You're still getting born, you're still getting dead, you eat and you sleep and you do those same things. But now the perspective has completely changed. So the Christmas story is actually the ultimate Christmas movie.
Yeah, offering its Christmasness to all of these Christmas movies. I can't speak for Die Hard myself. I haven't seen it, but I can trust the witness of your host, Zach, here on its Christmasness. We certainly appreciate A Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life. We watched It's a Wonderful Life 2 days ago, my first time, and I did cry at the end. And
well, that's in classic Danaher tradition. If you're not crying at the end of a movie, it wasn't a very good movie. So
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, we have watched It's a Wonderful Life, which I told Chris DeCleene he would love, and he did. And we recently just finished listening to an audio production book version of A Christmas Carol, and that was both of our first times actually hearing that story from the source of Charles Dickens' own writing.
So the Christmas Carol, Did it live up to expectation? I mean, you've heard a lot about it. I mean, I think I first did Christmas Carol when I was about 8, but
I did the Muppet version when I was pretty young.
Yeah,
so.
well,
I did the Muppet version of pretty much a lot of things when I was young.
The Muppet versions are pretty good versions.
Treasure Island Muppet version, pretty good.
Nice.
Muppet anything, really good. Muppet Story of Bufnagle, the podcast, would probably be pretty good.
We should get Kermit the Frog. All right, make it note to self.
Yep.
All right.
So I'll write it down right
Kermit
here in my
the Frog.
journal.
So Christmas Carol, yes, good.
Yeah, so I myself, actually, I don't have memories of watching film adaptations of it in my childhood or adulthood. But as someone who has taken to Dickens' writing as an adult, I really, really loved the story. It's beautifully written, has Scrooge undergoes that amazing perspective change. You know, as is said, nothing really changes on the outside, but he sees everything in a new light.
Yeah, so it's important. He doesn't he's visited by the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. And after he's done with that, it's like, his past is still his past. He's still living with all his sins and all his problems. He's living with regret that he didn't marry the girl he loved. All right. He's living, Tiny Tim is still sick. You don't know exactly what's going to happen to Tiny Tim. So the perspective of the situation, the circumstance hasn't changed at all, but Scrooge has changed and he's become a new man because of the light that Christmas brings.
Yeah, I definitely, something we really want to commend A Christmas Carol for is that first of all, beautiful writing. If you've never actually read or listened to the book itself, it's just a wonderful Dickens language and all that, but it's beautifully written. But then also Scrooge really has an encounter with these things that you cannot help but be changed by, where he actually learns it is possible to see love and joy, and it is possible to have a Merry Christmas, which he ends up doing at the end. And it's just wonderful to see him have that conversion in his heart and go out and be welcomed by others in his generosity.
Yeah, and I just want to make a quick shout out. If you want to listen to A Christmas Carol, a friend of mine, Peter Atkinson, has produced a podcast called The Dailies. And over the last few weeks has offered little snippets of A Christmas Carol. So now he's just put out the last of it, and you can listen to the whole book there. So really recommend that.
Yeah, I listened to part of it, and it's Dickens makes for great verbal
storytelling.
Yes, yeah. So reading, is something we don't do a lot of, which is read to each other. But that is Dickens does really well with that. It feels slow in our modern, fast-paced age to read books out loud, but that's a good story. So It's a Wonderful Life. You saw that one, and it's interesting because I went back and I started looking more at the story there, and it's a very interesting transformation that George goes through. But the transformation is not solely based on the angel. There's another piece of transformation there, and that takes place through his whole life. And it came to me that the real hero of that story isn't George or Clarence. The real hero of that story is Mary, his wife. And she really takes George early on in the story, and she slowly rebuilds him. And if you go back and watch it, he and she are on a walk after they fall in the swimming pool, and they find the old house, and he says he wants to demolish the old house and knock it down, and she says, no, I love the old house. And so George wants to get rid of the old house, the broken down, that stuff, and he wants to go be part of a new man.
He wants to go do something.
Right. He wants to be a new worldly man, right? He wants to build bridges and skyscrapers, and he wants to leave the town. And Mary says, no, I like the old ways. I like who you were meant to be, right? Which is the old house. And over time, she slowly, day by day, she converts the house, and she converts the house from being broken down and terrible to being wonderful and glorious. And at the same time, George is being transformed from being somebody who hates living in that town to somebody who likes it, but he still has these pieces at the end that Clarence has to clean up. So in the end, who saves the day? Well, Clarence saves George, but Mary rallies everybody in the town to get the money. And where does the money take place? They bring it back to the house, and that's it. That's the final piece of the scene of the movie is in the house. George has been completely redeemed, and
And
Clarence
he sees the world in a new light.
in a new way, right? And he's happy. He says it is a wonderful life.
Yeah. And I think those movies, fantastic, fun, good, make you feel good about yourself movies. But there are also movies that happen on Christmas that don't meet the Christmas movie criteria that we laid out.
And they're still good movies.
Yeah.
Right? Which they're not dissing these movies at all, but they're just Christmas time movies, I guess.
They're Christmas story movies.
Yeah. So like A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Is one of those. And you have some other ones on your list?
Yeah. Die Hard 2 is a sequel to Die Hard. John McClane has to save the day again. On Christmas again.
Yeah.
But instead of, change in circumstances happening, it's just, a John McClane movie on Christmas. It's, there's nothing.
Yes. Somebody blew up some other guys.
There.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Rocky 4, when Rocky fights Drago in the Soviet Union, that happens on Christmas Day.
Well, there's all sorts of cultural
There's
things.
some other cultural
there,
things
right?
going on there, but none of those cultural things impact the Christmas movie criteria that we have. A Christmas Vacation might be the quintessential "it happens on Christmas" movie.
But that's the Chevy Chase National Lampoon one. Yeah.
There's no change. It's just zany.
It's just zany.
Dumb.
Yeah.
There is the Nutcracker, which Rafe.
Well, yeah, I have a kind of an opinion here that's not popular, and that is that the Nutcracker is kind of dull. All right, so this little girl gets a Nutcracker. She goes to bed. She dreams that the Nutcracker killed the mice, and therefore everything's happy. There's no story there. I mean, the Nutcracker fights the mice, and then they're like, "You win," so now he's king, and then they sit there, and everybody from around the world comes and dances. And if you love ballet, it's awesome because it's fun to watch those guys dance. All this, it's
ballet as an art and a skill is just a thing that I can't even touch.
Right. But as a story goes, nah, I'm not going to give it. Olivia?
I was going to say the exact same thing. It is it's a beautiful, beautiful, entertaining dance. But yeah, there's really very little plot. I actually recently last Christmas, I saw a production of the Nutcracker, and I was like, is this even about anything?
No, it's
about the ballet.
It's about the ballet.
All right, beautiful ballet. But
additionally, another movie we'll throw out there that's a movie that happens on Christmas is Batman Returns, which is one of the 80s Batman movies, and it happens on Christmas. Catwoman's there. Penguin, played by Danny DeVito, there. So that's kind of worth it, but it still doesn't make it a Christmas movie. Nothing really changes in perspectives and circumstances there. But again, those are Christmas movies, and the fact that they happen on Christmas, around Christmas, they don't offer the additional piece of joy that we're looking for to make a Christmas movie.
And so what's the life lesson? The life lesson is Christmas should change you and change your perspective, right? And should change how you act and how you see the world. Be the good, be kind, think of others, sacrifice yourself. Those are all lessons that come out of Christmas, and those are the things we want to have you see. So, Zach, anything else?
Yeah, so I've mentioned this on this podcast a bunch of times, and the easy 2-word phrase of be kind, and that really applies to these Christmas movies, especially as we look at Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life. Just because you don't see the impact you have on somebody doesn't mean that you don't bring something to the world or to those around you. So continue to be the good. Or if someone is the good to you, reach out and let them know that. Like I said a couple weeks ago, it's a really easy thing to do. It's really simple, but a small little message can go a really long way. A friend texted me after we exchanged some gifts. I gave them a nice little card, but they said, "You are so great at making others feel appreciated and cared for." That's a genuine gift. For me, that was the best gift I got on Christmas because it was genuine, It was real, and it made me feel good about myself and to continue to be and spread that good and that joy and that kindness.
All right, so we're going to ask all the Bufnaglers out there to go, what do they say? Pay it forward, be the good, do the good. I want to thank Olivia and Chris here on this Merry Christmas Day. I think one or both of these guys may be joining us again as Big Brain Smart Heads because these guys can do more than comment on Christmas.
They're not just Christmas experts.
Yeah, they're not. That's right. So we're going to sign off. Get on to your a figgy pudding or whatever you eat on Christmas, creme brulee, or even if it's just a pack of Pop-Tarts. It is a wonderful life, and you know what? If you're not enjoying the life, you may be doing it wrong. So think about that. Olivia, Chris.
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here, and we hope you look forward to the next Bufnagle the podcast.
Thanks everyone for tuning on in. Take care. Be kind. Be good. We'll see you guys next time.